Welcome to the Shrewdness. We are so excited about this baseball-focused endeavor. As teased in prior episodes, we are doing 15 to 20-minute primers for each MLB team to prepare you for this 2025 season, to help you with your fantasy baseball drafts and future bets, or simply to improve your knowledge as the season begins. From the projected starters to the prospects, we will touch it all and give our shrewd takes on the key to their success. So sit back, take some notes, and enjoy the show.
Hey, Shrewdness fans. We are back again for another Major League Baseball primer. We're trying to decide who we might want to talk about tonight. And we just all happen to wear Royals gear. So I think we're going to talk about the 2015 World Champion 10 years ago.
It's only been a decade.
Only been a decade. But now we have Bobby Witt Jr., Kansas City Royals.
Purdue.
Woo!
Oh, Royals.
I am so excited to talk Royals today because, you know, we have not, as true fans of this franchise know, you've been a fan as long as the three of us have, going on 40 years now. The beginning was wonderful. 1985, third grade, the Royals, the Cardinals played, and I decided to choose the Kansas City Royals. My brother chose the St. Louis Cardinals. We were a house divided. And as he told me for decades after that, I won the battle, he won the war. And that was pretty much true for the next,
30
years. And it was just him steadily mocking
Going to
me.
the World Series in 2004, 2006, 2011.
Just boom, boom, boom. Every year he'd just ask me how the Royals were and just rubbing my nose. And now in 2015, we had the process. And the process came together under Dayton Moore. Dayton Moore drafted all these young guys and got them all up at once.
Brought in Hunter Renfroe.
No. This was Dayton Moore. Dayton Moore.
I know. I'm messing.
Don't even. Drafted him, brought him up. They came up together. It was a glorious time. We got to watch them all at once become world champions, go 2 years in a row, and win the second year. And it was the prime of, a lot of guys, but really the beginning of Salvador Perez. And now for the last 10 years, we've been able to enjoy Salvi, even though we haven't had much of a team since then, until last year. And last year, the great hope for the Royals, Bobby Witt Jr. came up. And Bobby Witt Jr. made, he came up the year before, but, last year was
also awesome.
Was awesome. But last year was the year everyone was expecting him to do great things. And, we kind of thought, it's just going to be the Bobby Witt Jr. show. And the reason why we thought that is because Fangraphs predicted that we were going to win 73 games last year. And
we also sort of predicted that as fans.
And Fakota said, no, not so fast, my friend. 70. You'll win 70 games. So I was just kind of hoping, as were the rest of the Shrewdness crew members, we'll just enjoy Bobby Witt. We'll enjoy Bobby Witt, some Salvi home runs, and, that'll be that.
Wouldn't it be great if they could pull off a 500 season after losing 100 games in 2023?
Incredible.
Maybe get not last in the Central.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
But I will say, shrewd moves in the pitching rotation resulted in a stellar staff, which we'll talk about when we get to pitching. But that stellar staff propelled them to the playoffs and an 86-win season, which was just phenomenal. A phenomenal ride for Royals fans, much more than we expected. We're eliminated by the dreaded Evil Empire.
Well, that's called the New York Yankees.
Yeah, New York Yankees.
They suck.
The ALDS, who had way more talent than we did. But it was a great run. We all enjoyed it. So now we turn the page to 2025 Royals. 10 years since the last World Series championship, and maybe there's something special about the fives because 85, 15,
missed out on 95 somehow,
and 2005 somehow.
Yeah.
But 95, if I remember, was a pretty good year. We had some good teams in the 90s. Just happened to be in the same division as those dreaded Oakland A's back in the day.
I know that was the day also when there was no wild card.
Yes,
and you needed to get. You had to
we
win.
We would have been the wild card multiple times.
The East or the West, the two divisions with a zillion teams. You had to win it.
Totally. I'm actually pulling up that 1995 standings to see what the Royals finished that year. But the core of the team's back, as we'll talk about, and there's high expectations. As a matter of fact, the numbers for Pacoda for Fangraphs this year is 81, which is still five game drop off. Same for Pacoda, and Vegas has us at 82.5. So everyone's predicting a little bit of a regression from the 86 wins, but I think this is kind of one of those years where the Central's wide open. And you can take any of those teams, except for the White Sox, and they've got a puncher's chance to win the division. And I think that that's going to make the Central a blast all the way through. So we'll dive in. We're doing this one towards the end because we wanted to save it as much as possible so that we could get as close to the real roster. The Royals just played an exhibition game here in Texas today. If not for stupid work, I would have been there. Against the Rangers, and then they made some final roster moves before opening day, which is just 2 sleeps away. 2 sleeps away from opening day and the starting. So,
you have to have some presence for the end of this thing. We suffered through some Miami, we've suffered through some White Sox talk, and you can't put all the good ones at the beginning.
Rockies.
Or they would never get done. We were just like, we're not going to talk about those teams.
Gotta just do it.
So we're rallying through. We had some Dodgers come out recently. Got to enjoy that one. Padres playoff team. And here we are. We got some Royals, more playoff teams.
We're doing nothing but playoff teams tonight.
Yeah, we'll have Atlanta and the Yankees coming up. So keep subscribing, following, liking all of us on the socials.
That's right.
You'll make sure you get all of our last ones as we get right into the season.
We're noticing those numbers go up, and we appreciate it because we love doing this. And we were talking before on the Patreon about how we all consume a lot of podcasts, and podcasts are good and bad. You can find some good ones and some bad ones. And a lot of sports ones are kind of like they glaze over stuff. They'll do, hey, we're going to do MLB preview, and we're going to do 50 minutes of MLB preview. Yeah, okay, great. You're basically going to get, hey, the Dodgers and Yankees are going to be great. And you're going to, hear about that, and you're not going to hear about anybody else. We're taking you through every team, every starting player, even backup players, staff. I mean, if you're talking about fantasy, even prospects. So if you're in a keeper league and you're fantasy, or even if you're just a fan and you want to hear about the prospects that are coming up, like you're going to get it all here. So hopefully you guys appreciate it. And if so, forward it to somebody. Say, hey, check this out. Take a listen.
These guys are awesome.
If they're a fan of a team, you're like, I know one Orioles fan, shoot it over to them.
Yeah. If you know the Rockies fan, send it to him.
Yeah, he'll enjoy it in the rock pile. He needs something to listen to.
Right.
Both of them will talk about it for weeks.
Right. Both those Rockies fans will be all over that. All right, so let's dive in. The Royals, I guess, encouraged by their performance last year, actually upped the payroll a little bit. It's still not gonna, frighten anybody, but $145 million. Ain't nothing to sneeze at for Kansas City fans. That's a legitimate payroll by Kansas City standards and the market size we're in. So it's definitely the ownership saying, hey, we want to win. So love to see that. They invested in some. We can't go out and get a lot of great big names. I was hoping for Ohtani. I was hoping for him, but for some reason we didn't quite lock Ohtani down. But we did get a couple key guys that I want to talk about. We're going to start with the first one, which is the leadoff hitter this year.
Yeah.
Jonathan India. So, Jonathan India. Woo! When we got Jonathan India, so we swapped a guy who was a Shrewdness favorite, Brady Singer. Brady Singer, listen, we love you, Brady Singer. We love what you did. What we loved about Brady Singer is he was a battler. Dude just battled. He did not have the best stuff. He was not going to blow you away. But, man, he was a freaking competitor. And he got out there and was just going to fight every stinking inning, every at-bat. Yeah. So we missed Brady. But we had more depth in pitching. We needed some more offense. Went out and made a trade. Jonathan India. Now, I was a little bit confused when we got India because he's a second baseman and not Massey. It's not phenomenal, but he's a pretty good second baseman. He's a, solution-ish.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about replacement players, he's one.
Yeah, he's one. He's slightly above replacement, but he's not phenomenal. But I'll be honest, I was hoping for a corner outfielder. That's what I was hoping for. Is like, we're gonna go get a corner guy, somebody to take one of those outfield positions, and we didn't. But we've got Jonathan India, and right now he's slated at DH. He's a 28-year-old. If you guys are fans or Reds fans or Major League fans, you know that this guy was the Rookie of the Year. He was the Rookie of the Year for the Reds. He was previously a 4-WAR guy.
His rookie year,
which is pretty impressive. The guy averages 20 home runs, 10 stolen bases. I mean, that's pretty good.
That's not bad for a Royal.
Not bad. We'll take it. He's a first-round pick in 18. Now, the problem is he's been steady since then, but he hasn't had that year again. So we're kind of hoping, but he was still almost a 3-WAR guy last year. He's 2-8-WAR guy. He is slated to be the DH, which I found interesting because what they're saying is Massey's shown a better glove at second than him, which I'm a little surprised by, honestly. But he'll probably play a he'll probably play a lot of infield. He may even play corner outfield. I don't know if that's an option for him, but he may get out there some as well.
I don't think
what
he's
do you guys think
done
about
it.
India?
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So I'll start off. So Jonathan India, I mean, he was the 5th overall pick back out of the Gators back in the day. And I remember the draft pick, like, oh, wow, that looks pretty good. And I remember talking it up. And the whole thing is he can hit the ball. His hit tool is high, and he could work it count. That's been true. So, again, rookie year, 71 walks. Last year, 80 walks.
Yep.
And his average, for Major League Baseball today, 248.
Yeah.
244. Last 2 seasons, that's fine. His on base,
Not
338 and 357.
Yeah.
357 on base, I'll take all day.
Yeah, he just hasn't turned on the power. They all thought he'd start hitting for more power. And when your first year is your best year at 21, I mean, that was also a good ballpark. I mean, anyone who plays Strato or just watches baseball knows that Cincinnati has a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. Exists.
Yeah.
Especially in the summertime, right?
Yeah.
And so the fact that he never really went up from that, I guess, is the only thing. Because last year, postseason, right? 27, man. You got to post in your 27 season. He posted some walks. That was good. Yeah. And he's been remarkably consistent. He's always double-digit stolen bases. He doesn't get thrown out much. His strikeouts are traditionally just gone down. So his percentage of Ks and walks are going the right direction, both of them.
Yeah.
So walks are going up, Ks are going down.
Yep.
He's very passable. I like him way better than Michael Massey at second base, just because he's going to give you way better at bats. And
That's
we
true.
need to get the starting pitchers out. And we already got Bobby Witt's working counts. Salvi, not so much. All right, not many people on our team working out because we got rid of Carlos Santana. But Jonathan India will, and I think in the leadoff spot, that's going to be exactly what the Royals need to set the table for Bobby.
I think that's right, and I think the thing with India is you're going to see a theme, and if you're a Royals fan or if you're listening to this for the first time and you're not, for your information, this is the kind of guy the Royals get. They get a guy who's got potential, who's shown a little bit. He's never just destroyed it, though, because he's out of the price range then. They're never going to go get a guy who's an all-star, but they get guys that flash and they see something. They're like, hey, we think we could unlock that guy's potential a little bit more. And as we'll talk about later, they have done that several times. So, I think it's worth a flyer. It wasn't super expensive, and we need guys to get on base. And having him at the top of the lineup, I really like, especially right before Bobby Witt.
Exactly. He's got that little bit of speed, right?
I'm looking at last year's stats, and Michael Garcia led off for the Royals last year a lot.
Oh dear God!
Yeah.
281 on base versus Jonathan India 357. That's 75 points.
Strikingly different. And that adds up to a lot more base running. And he's not going to get double play all the time. He'll steal the bag.
That's very different.
I like it.
And with doubles king and home run king Bobby Witt Jr. Right behind you, he's going to score a lot of runs if he can.
So
find his way on base.
let's do that.
Yep.
Let's talk about Mr. Witt, who is slated to hit second. Bobby Witt Jr. My goodness, I have not loved the guy this much. I mean, for me, it's George Brett, it's Salvi Perez, and it's Bobby Witt Jr. Oh my! If I look at the three favorite guys I've loved to watch in a Royals uniform, I mean, besides Bo Jackson, but I mean,
Bo's amazing.
For a sustained period of time, guys that were Royals guys, holy cow, this guy a 10.4 WAR last year,
in year 2,
and he's 24. He's 24 years old, and all he did last year was go 332, 389, 977. Oh yeah, he was the batting average champ of the majors of the American League with 211 hits.
What was the majors? Because Luis Arraez got the National League.
That's right.
314.
That's right. He led
the majors in batting.
He had just an incredible year. He's not just a power guy. He's a speed guy. He's actually, if he's not the fastest, his rookie year he was the fastest first to third guy in the majors. So the dude is just electric. In all aspects of the game. Now
that was his third year last year, right? So 2022 is year 1. He's going up in every single category that you want him to go up in. Homers, 20, 30, 32. RBIs, 80, 96, 109. Walks, 30, 40, 57. Average, 254, 276, 332. OPS, 722, 813, 977. I mean, good Lord, he's 25 this year. He's got 3 more years to get to the peak.
He's taking 100-point jumps in his OPS every year.
Did you say 109 RBI last year?
Yes.
Batting
this team
behind Michael Garcia. And Kyle Isbell at the bottom of the order.
Right. There was not a lot of ducks on the pond when he came up.
Unbelievable. He scored 125 runs himself.
I started to say he scored a ton of runs too. He led the league in runs for a long part of the season.
Yeah.
The thing that I think has been most spectacular about him is, there was question when he moved to short if he would be able to do that. He's a Gold Glover.
He just plays every single game at short.
So he's a Gold Glover.
Yeah.
He didn't miss any games last year. He has also become, the thing that I've loved to watch is the plate discipline. He did not walk nearly enough his rookie year. And that was the knock on him, was that he chased. He was so anxious, he just wanted to freaking kill everything. He was just swinging. Because when he did hit it, it was awesome to watch. But he's gotten smarter. He's got the baseball IQ that's come up, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to spit on some pitches. And he does. And he spits on those pitches, and he's getting better pitches. And then he's driving the heck out of them. So when you're a 10-4 WAR guy, and the guy behind you, not saying anything bad about Vinny. I love Vinny, but Vinny's the third batter. It's not like there's a lot of reason to face Bobby when you got Vinny next. I would be really careful. And he's still hitting 332. I mean, which in today's terms is like 450 from growing up.
Yeah. He had 88 extra base hits out of his 211 hits, which led the league.
Yeah.
That is insane. Nearly half his hits were extra bases. Just a little under, obviously. I mean, it's just unbelievable. This kid, there's not enough accolades you can put on him. And the thing is, we still expect him to get better. I mean, do you really see 40-40 out of the question? I mean, do you really think that Acuna season 2 years ago couldn't happen for Bobby Witt?
For sure.
I mean, I can see 40-70. That's what Acuna did. Ohtani
got all the talent to do it. There's no doubt.
54-59. I don't know. I mean, sky's the limit for this kid. I think he's on the short list of MVP candidates for the futures bets. If you guys are looking at those,
for sure,
certainly not a bad bet. Let's put it that way.
There was a very good argument to be made for him last year, but he did not play in one New York City, which tends to give people a little more attention and votes for some reason. And
but if you took away him versus you take away their guy, which team's really
one team isn't making the playoffs?
Which team is left in the playoff chase?
Let's take away those 10 war games, and now we are with
now right where
wins,
Fangraphs says we should have been.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's all I know.
You really can't say enough about him, but if you haven't got a chance to spend any time watching him because it's the Royals, and you probably haven't watched a lot of Royals games unless you're a Royals fan, just do it. I had the pleasure of going live to the Home Run Derby this last year because it was in Texas, and I got to go to the games, and Bobby Witt Jr. put on an incredible show and missed by like 5 feet from tying a home run derby on his last swing of the bat. And what it showed me was there's athletes that step up to the drama. And it was one of those deals where he was way behind in the home run total. I was like, he's going to lose. And I was looking at my boys. I'm like, he's not going to do it. And then he went on a tear. And it was like, oh, this is the big stage. And for those guys, it clicks on, and it clicked on, and he just started cranking the ball. And by the way, his brother-in-law was throwing total garbage to him.
I was going to say, we talked about this last year on one of our pods during the All-Star break. He was throwing him hot garbage. Like, throw me a freaking strike, man, anywhere here. Instead, he's hitting, like, outside, low and away, up and in, and he's still parking him. Like, this is unreal.
Turn on it and hit a sky ball.
Totally.
Yeah. I think it kind of proved to him that he could hit anything out, though. After that, I'm like, I can hit that ball out.
I didn't put that out. Good. I was a fan of. I wanted Bobby Witt Sr. throwing to him in the home run. I thought that would have been awesome, but I guess they decided not to do that. But all right, that's we've gushed over him enough. But check him out,
Bobby Witt
please.
Jr. is very good.
He is.
We like him.
Generational talent. And,
friend of the pod.
Cannot wait to see him follow up last year. Okay, so now we go to 3. Vinny Pasquantino, the Pasquatch. Now I got a soft spot for the Pasquatch. So
soft squatch. You got a soft squatch.
I got a soft squatch for the Pasquatch. And I probably overvalue him because he's such a nice dude. Like, everybody loves Vinny. And he wasn't a highly touted prospect. He's not like some dude that everyone's like, oh, you got to watch Vinny in the minors. Nobody was like, Pasquantino's coming up. That was not the deal. He just kind of like played well enough. They were like, I guess we got to give this guy a shot.
Yeah, it just kind of appeared. Right.
So, and funny thing, they were in the same draft. So Bobby Witt was the second overall pick. Thank God he didn't go 1. And then we have Vinny Pasquatch, 11th round.
Yes.
And they're back to back in the order, baby.
11th round.
So kids, keep on practicing. You don't have to be the top pick.
You don't. And the thing I like about Vinny is he's a gamer. He does provide some nice pop. The problem with Vinny is he can't stay healthy. He has like been hurt the last 2 seasons, and as of like 2 days ago, he had tweaked his hammy. So I don't know if he's going to be ready for opening day or not. But if you project him to a full season, he projects at 23 home runs. And he's worked like crazy on his defense. He was a defensive liability when he came up. He is now very serviceable. His metrics would say he's an average first baseman, which is great. But he's got to stay healthy, and he needs to provide that pop. He's a 262 guy, 760 OPS. It's not phenomenal numbers for a first baseman, but it's definitely serviceable. And for a Royals first baseman, not bad.
Here's what I like.
Worse.
If he had a Strato card, he'd have some diamonds on his out, little black dots on his outs, because he had 97 RBIs last year.
Yes.
And that was in a season where he only played 131 games.
I started to say he was hurt with that wrist the last couple weeks of the season, or last 6 weeks or whatever.
Didn't he start off like hot garbage last year too?
He was awful to start.
Yes.
And so take away April, and then obviously we take away the end.
Right.
And he still had 97 RBIs.
That's a lot of
that's,
RBIs.
That's something special right there. And again, he's going to year 27 , so let's go.
Yeah. This is
because he batted behind Bobby Witt, who scored 124 runs.
Totally.
Yeah.
That helps.
Absolutely.
It certainly helps.
If Bobby Witt's on first, he's on second. So then you got a good chance.
And he's fastest in the majors from first to third. He's probably
third.
Pretty close to from second to home too. So
that's right. He also happened to, fun fact, and this is part of that, he led the major leagues in sacrifice flies last year. So with 13. So he does tend to find a way to get the dude in, right?
Yep.
And that's what you want in your 3-hole. So
that's exactly what you want. Knock people in, man.
I got no complaints with Vinny. He's not going to wow you. He's a 1.5 WAR guy, so, he's an average first baseman, a little better, but he's above average in our hearts. And when that Pasquatch comes out when the Sasquatch comes out after the home runs, it makes it all worthwhile.
And hopefully, we'll get to it later, but there's somebody in the system coming up that I would love to see at first base. And then, I don't know, there's someone I would love, Pasquatch, to play DH instead.
Yes.
And that would be pretty fun. But we'll get to that. We'll get to there.
Absolutely.
Future's bright at first base, baby. Future
is bright. Teaser. That's what you call it in the business. A tease.
Yeah.
Right there.
I love it. All right, who's cleaning up for us?
Here you go, clean up. Well, who's going to clean up? Of course, the ageless wonder, Salvador Perez.
Salvador.
Who
34 years young.
34 years young. And I got to say, Salvi, it feels like he's been here forever. Like, when I read 34, I actually thought, he's older than that. But he's only 34. Now, his body's probably 54 because he doesn't ever take a day off. He refuses to take a day off. Like, there's all kinds of stories about the Royals coaching staff fighting with him, like saying, you're off day. And he's like, no, it's not. I'm not going to take a day off. And, or at least put me as DH. Like, he put me at first. He started playing first last year because the dude just wants to play ball.
He just wants to play ball.
He's the kid in all of us. That's the part
I looked
that's
it
so
up
cool about him.
I want to say he caught 120 games.
I think that's probably right.
And another 30 at first base or something. And
I
mean, he spent a lot of time on the field last year.
He played 158 games.
Yeah.
I mean,
find another catcher that's doing that.
There are
major leagues. Like, he is a different breed. And if you hear the guy interviewed, the reason he's such an incredible guy to love as a fan is he truly recognizes how awesome his life is. Like, he gets to play baseball for a living. He's from Venezuela, which is a horribly rough place to grow up and has horrible political situation now. And I think the dude just realizes he's blessed. And he just lives
pretty nice.
He lives every day like it. And I just cannot get enough of that. The guy gets excited. My favorite moments of Salvi, besides his World Series moments, are like in the seasons where we're 60 and 100, and he hits a game-winning single, and he jumps up and down like it matters because he's so excited that they just won game number 61. And that is like what all of us like to think we would be like. That's what Salvi is.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Have you guys seen the TikTok video or whatever, Instagram, where he's driving home from practice one day and drives by this group of like 8-year-olds playing wiffle ball in the front yard. And he's like, I got nothing better to do. I'm going to stop and play wiffle ball. And this monster of a dude gets out and just plays with these random 8-year-old kids somewhere in Kansas City.
Oh my gosh.
And the mom was like going nuts with their,
unbelievable,
filming it all on her phone. And he's just such a great dude and loves life beyond baseball.
He does.
It just goes to show you, it depends on who the 34-year-old stopping to play with the 8-year-olds is.
That's right.
So, it can't be everybody.
That's right.
Don't get any ideas.
Sometimes they call the police.
Not everybody can get away with that, but
exactly. You got to have the right name.
That's right. But I will say this about Salvi. He led the league in home runs a few years ago, which was
48
amazing.
dingers.
He had 48 home runs. He's a 9-time All-Star, a World Series MVP, 5-time Gold Glove, 5-time Silver Slugger. His average season is 28 home runs and 96 RBIs. That's his average season.
He's awesome.
But here's what's cool about him. like, we all know Salvi has been just a Vlad Guerrero senior. Like, swing at freaking everything. Like, if it's moving towards me, I'm swinging. Like, that was his philosophy. And so
it's like, you know how the seafood diet, I see food and I eat it? He's on a C-pitch diet. C-pitch, eat it. He just goes. Like, he's not, you've got to intentionally bounce it, hit the mascot, throw it in the dugout.
Oh, it's brutal. But something
he's got a 4-inch window outside the strike zone.
Something happened last year in his age 33. This does not happen at age 33. Okay, you are what you are by then. But last year he got 20 more walks than his average season, and he averaged 30 points higher OBP last year. So his OBP went from 300, which is what he usually has, to 330. Like that is an incredible increase at age 33. So I think he's just loves the game so much. He's trying to get better, and I'm hoping what he's realizing is like, hey, I'm 34. I'm not going to be able to just catch up into everything anymore. I'm going to have to be smarter. I'm going to have to pick out my pitches. I'm going to have to milk some walks, right? And he did it.
We'll totally age it right here, but so remember Happy Gilmore? Happy learned how to putt. Now Salvi learned how to take a pitch. And he delivered 27 dingers and 104 RBIs last year. And just what? That's the second most he's ever had in his career, besides like 3 years ago. So when he's 31, he goes 48, 121. And then when he's 34, he goes 27, 104. Those are his two best years at age 31 and 34.
Yeah, that's
he's getting better.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Or at least he's not falling off a cliff. Let's put it that way.
And every year, I think he's going to fall off a cliff. I mean, every year I think there's way too much wear on the tread, you know? And I'm like, surely this is the year he falls off. You can't catch that many games and not fall off.
And he's still catching 120 games at age 33 or whatever.
Insane. Now, we know that the defense has gotten worse. We know that he's not quite the defensive. He's not a liability, but the defense is worse. He still has an incredible arm. He can still throw anybody out. But we'll talk about his backup, who has done a heck of a job, and is giving him some rest that he needs. Hopefully, he gets a little more this year and gets to play some DH a little bit. But
the rest of the lineup, we really won't spend as much time on each player.
No, we won't. But
so if you've been like, these guys really talk a long time about each player. I mean, we went through the 4 we liked.
The first 4 are very capable.
And like, if this is your first episode, like, we're Royals fans, so you're going to go a little longer on the Royals. Everybody else is not like this. We did not go this long on everybody else. So you gotta bear with it. You gotta give us a little grace. This is our team. We're going to talk a little bit longer about them.
We're going to geek out about them a little bit.
You're right. That first 4 is fun to watch. After that, it's a little bit frightening.
This is where we wanted to get better. That didn't happen in the offseason.
This is the part of the lineup you go make your popcorn and you get your nachos and all that.
This is where I really wanted us to add a bat in the outfield. We didn't, but we still got Michael Massey. He's slated to hit 5th. Massey's not bad. He's a 1.5 WAR guy. He does have unusual pop for a second baseman. He averages 19 homers over 162 game season, but just nothing super special. So
I'd love to have him as my utility guy.
Yeah, he'd be a great utility guy, right?
Yeah,
because he hits 260. He doesn't walk a lot. That's a problem. He's a decent fielding second baseman, but like, he's just one of those guys that you just plug in. You're like, okay, Michael Massey. And he's hitting 5th. Don't love that. No. That is where I would have loved to have brought in somebody else.
And the issue is there's no one else I'd want to hit 5th other than him.
There's nobody.
He's kind of the best of what's left.
Yes, because he at least makes contact with the ball, which is good. And it's more than I could say about our 6th batter, Hunter Renfroe.
Let's go to the next one.
Okay, full disclosure. Full disclosure. Right here, full disclosure, Chiz hates Hunter Renfroe. Okay? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Chiz hates Hunter Renfroe. Now,
and I don't like him either.
If Lou was on, he would defend Hunter Renfroe. And to be fair, Lou had a point last year because Hunter Renfroe, at least the first half of the year, outperformed what I ever expected Hunter Renfroe to do. Then he turned back into Hunter Renfroe after that. So he's just it's so frustrating. He's a first round guy. Okay, this dude was a first round draft pick. He's got a lot of power. He's got a good arm, I guess.
It is.
And
he's a good outfielder.
Yeah.
But he's got to hit over 20 home runs to be worth having him in the lineup because he doesn't do anything else. So it's like, the fact that his OBP is 297 and his OPS is 689 for a corner power outfielder to have a 689 OPS.
Yeah.
And he's
that ain't gonna do it.
He's 33, so it's not like he's gonna improve.
It's not gonna get better.
I mean, he's a -4 guy last year, just barely, but
I don't criticize a lot of Royals front office pickups. This one I was pissed at from the beginning, and the fact that we signed him to a 2-year deal. We're basically putting him out here because it's a 2-year deal, and we got to put him out here for the second year. So my hope for him is that he catches some lightning in a bottle, and if we're out of the race by the trade deadline, we can get something for him. If we're in it, terrific. We ride him, and then bye-bye, Hunter. So prove me wrong, Hunter, but he's slightly below replacement.
Yep.
Yeah. When you start hitting the negatives,
and you're 33.
I don't like it.
Yeah. You're 33. Speaking of the negatives, the next guy.
Yes.
The other corner outfielder.
The negative, everybody believes in the potential. He's been potential for like 22 years now.
If you want to talk about irrational, this is where I'm irrational. Hunter Renfroe is a -0.1. Hate him. MJ Melendez, -0.3. There's a chance. There's a chance. I keep thinking.
This is the year. This is time.
MJ's going to
I think he worked on his swing in the offseason.
Right? Every year he worked on his swing in the offseason. Supposedly he changed his stance. Thank God, because if you ever watched MJ Melendez bat, he is running for the dugout as soon as he swings. His push is
not good.
He looks like a slap hitter from women's softball team.
He does. And he's a power guy.
Well, he was so good in the minors.
Yes.
Like, every time he goes to the minors, he absolutely rakes.
Yes.
And then he gets called up. Does not rake. Let's just call it quick, simple.
Yes. Yeah. He came up as a catcher. I got to see him in the minors. I saw him and Bobby together in a minor league game. Both of them went yard. It was awesome. But he's a catcher by trade, so they brought him up and they were like, You're never going to get a shot with Salvi. So
let's give you some skates and put you in a bear costume. And how about you go play left field?
Send you out to left field.
Just go spin in circles.
It's way over there.
And just take the catcher's mitt off and your mask, MJ. We need you to really focus on catching the ball.
And I will say, the first year, it was an adventure to watch. It was like when the ball went up, it was like watching Little League. He was like, which way do I go? I go forwards? Do I go backwards?
Just stand right there. It's coming right at you.
Isbell was in center going, right, back.
And all the fans are like,
right.
Oh, every time.
If
it's
brutal.
a 7th or 8th inning,
please catch it.
And you have a lead, you're like, God, we need some strikeouts. We need some
so
strikeouts.
Bad, right?
Don't put the ball in the outfield.
But I will say, I'll give him credit. He did get better. He is still a below average left fielder, but he is better than he was. He still can't hit his way out of a paper bag, but this is the year. He's 26. He's either a quadruple A guy or this is the year it works because he's changed his stance. Everybody's super excited. Blah, blah, blah. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Usually the problem with MJ is he starts out about 2 for 100, and then he starts to slowly get back to the Mendoza line, and then by the end of the season he's hit 210, 211, and he's just never exciting as a result.
For me, it's the 273 on base.
Yes, and that's where I wanted to get to next.
So
here's the thing. Here's the thing he used to be good at. He used to get 60 walks a year. First 2 years, okay. Last year, we're like, oh, he went from 28% strikeout to 25. Like, he really cut down on those Ks. That's good. Walk percentage, 10.3 to 7.8. He really cut down on those walks. Like, no, keep that up. What are you doing?
It's got to equal it out.
Exit velocity down 2 points. Hard hit percentage down 4%. Line drive percentage down 5%.
Metrics are not good.
Ground balls up 6%.
That's what I remember,
6%.
I remember
every single thing he did is hitting weak ground balls.
Weak ground balls to first.
Yeah, it's because of that terrible habit where he's bailing out and pulling everything.
And
the
funny thing is,
he went up 3 points.
The funny thing is,
all ground balls.
If you played any kind of organized baseball at all, you know when you're stepping out like he's stepping, you're losing power, and you're going to pull. And if you do hit the ball the other way, it's going to be weak. So I truly hope that the stance sticks and it changes, and I truly hope the guy can realize his potential. Unfortunately, where MJ stands at this point, I think we'd all be super happy if he was a 250 guy. And
I'd be happy with 230
that would be
after
fantastic.
the last couple years.
So MJ Melendez, so here's silver lining going into the season. So it's what's funny that everybody does it in baseball. Spring training only matters if it helps, and you ignore it if it sucks.
Yeah.
Well, for MJ Melendez, he batted 250.
All right.
He walked 4 times, struck out 16. Not great, really.
Yeah.
But he did have a double, 2 triples, 2 homers.
Okay.
So his slugging was actually a 462 and his OPS 765 through spring.
Okay.
Which, again, we've seen worse. We've seen worse. If he can just do that.
That'll play in this lineup if you look at last year's stats.
Absolutely play.
Yes.
750 is in the hunt to crack the top 5 in the batting order. So.
Yep. So
he does that.
Here's the hoping.
He's a 5 hitter. We'll take him to the 5 hole. So that's the watch out on MJ. He's still only 26. We'll see. Then we get to the we know Hitty part of the lineup. So it was, MJ's pretty bad, but then you get to Michael Garcia. Okay, so I really wanted Michael to be good because he started out
2 weeks. He was
pretty good. Out great last year.
Like I was like, woo! I mean, he's a 1-1 WAR guy, which I'm kind of surprised he's that high because he's a 281 OBP, 614 OPS as your third baseman. Holy crap! You cannot have that.
As your leadoff hitter.
Man, Nolan Arenado would have looked great there.
Oh, he would have looked phenomenal in that spot.
And it's a playoff team, Nolan. Your Cardinals aren't going.
Right.
Come on, brother. Coming on down I-70.
It's not a big move. Just, come on
3 hours away.
Yeah, Independence will welcome you. Let's go.
I cannot believe that he is who they want at third base long term. Now, if they had any other viable option at third, I think they would put him in there. And I think they're hoping that in the minors they get some guys that pop and show something. Their third baseman right now, if you look at the minors, they don't have anything. It's a problem. Their AAA guy is a guy named Jordan Groshans, who they just he's 25. They got a AA guy, Trevor Werner, who was a 7th round draft pick in 23.
Who's the guy we traded last year? We traded our third baseman prospect, and I didn't know we had nobody else.
We have nobody else.
We have nobody else. Yeah.
The hope is there's a guy who plays shortstop and third base named Cam Devaney. He's 28. He's not.
There's
great,
another guy. Maybe we can get this Rafael Devers guy. I heard he's not happy.
That'd be all right. I heard that dude likes third base.
He might be able to play third base. It sounds like someone's trying to take his job.
He's unhappy.
Take his job out there.
We'd be happy to put him out there every day. He can have the whole thing, man. We'll let him play out there. So they gotta find if they're gonna make a deep run, and if they get serious and they actually are showing like they could win this year, I would not be surprised if they made an acquisition at third base because it's probably the biggest hole they have.
Glaring.
Yeah. And then to round it out, I will give some props to defensive player extraordinaire Kyle Isbell.
Yeah.
If you look at his runs saved, actually, you look at those metrics, like the way they rate him, they have like what his WAR is.
defensive
is
war
actually an
contribution.
all-star. His defense in center
He's
field
a 3.
rates him as an all-star. But that he bats. And the problem is when he bats, I think he's a perpetual 229 hitter. I don't think I've ever seen anything other than 2. I think he starts the season at 229. They don't start him at 0. They're just like, we'll put you at 229.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
It's going to be there always.
We know you're going to fluctuate between 210 and 230 the entire season.
287 on base, which is really absurd because he's fast. You would think that he'd get on base more, but
So spring training, batting average, 214.
Yes, totally.
He's always the same. And he finished last year with a 287 on base, spring training, 292. God, he is unbelievably consistent.
But he is the reason he's got to be in this lineup is you got Bear on skates and left, and you got Hunter Renfroe and right, and he covers 3/4 of the outfield.
Yeah.
So he's like, you guys stand over there and don't move.
Yeah, just guard the lines.
Take 3 steps off the line, and that's your job right there. Just stay there.
So, he's a 1-4 WAR guy hitting 228. That tells you how incredible his defense is.
Yeah.
But, God, he's 28. It's not going to change. He is who he is at this point.
Yeah.
So, that's what it is. So, that's the lineup. The top half's exciting. The bottom half is, holy crap, we need some lightning in the bottle.
Just get us back to the top half.
If you get a couple of those guys have a 250 season, and it would be a phenomenal get for us. So we'll see.
Yeah.
On the bench, you have another fan favorite, Freddie Fermin.
Yep.
He's a 29-year-old guy. He's a guy that didn't get his shot for a long time. He's come up. He's exactly like Salvi. He loves playing. He's just like, you could tell the dude loves being out there. He's an incredible defensive catcher.
Yeah. He's real good.
MVP level defense. He hit, but last year he hit the ball. He hit 271 for a backup catcher, 319, 685, which, man, for a guy you're putting out there every third, fourth day, I'll take it. He never hit that well before, though. So the question with him is, can he do that again, or was that just a magic season, right? Can he catapult himself? He's 29. He kind of is what he is. But he gives Salvi a rest from squatting. He's a great defensive catcher. He calls a great game. No complaints with Freddie. He's not a long-term. He's not going to be the heir apparent to Salvi, but he's a great.
We got those
player.
coming. We'll talk about
That's
them
right.
later.
Did Freddie lead the league in thrown out base runners or something like that?
I think he did actually last year. His numbers were crazy on percentage of caught stealing.
And I think in a previous show we talked about defensive WAR, and he was like top 3 in the league or something.
Yeah,
right?
he's crazy high. He really does have ridiculous defense, and so the fact that the guy hit 271 is incredible. I'd be happy with a 240 year out of him, and the level of defense he provides.
We had a month or two there where we had to play him every day. He was hitting the ball so well.
Yeah,
that it was we can either DH him, let Salvi catch, or let him catch. Let him be in there every day because
if you think about it,
a couple others were on fire for a while there.
He was the second highest batting average on the team last year.
Yeah, I do want to throw out. I don't want to throw a wet blanket on it.
No, do it.
Yes, he did all that. Yes, his batting average is better, but his hard hit rate went down from 42 to 33.
Oh wow,
and
that's significant.
His barrel rate dipped from, for one, this isn't even good. 9.9% is terrible to start with, down to 3.2. You can bunt and get him more barrels than that.
That's pretty bad.
Yes, his average went up, and I am pleased with that. Seeing eye singles, man. That's all I can think of.
Yeah.
Or bloops over the infield.
Yeah.
But it certainly wasn't because he was striping the bejesus out of the ball.
No.
And those are not happy stats for me to see.
And you don't remember a lot of hard hit balls when you remember his at-bats. It's not
no,
like
you do not.
He just killed the ball. It was just
flares and dribblers and swinging bunts.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, a nice lazy line drive over the shortstop. Just a
So
And
maybe
is
do as
what it
much as
is.
we hate to say it as homers, but maybe do for some regression on the offensive side of the plate. I would say.
I just didn't want. Yes, is up. I just had to highlight
How
some
did
other.
how did his spring look, Dex? Did he
Um,
hit the ball in the spring at all, or did he? He probably did a lot of. Well, he probably did because they
so
switched
because
5 games.
he is, I mainly look at like people who would be draftable.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He's not, but he actually.
No.
I just pulled up his stats. He batted .308.
Okay.
And so 12 for 39. He had 4 doubles, a triple, and a homer. He's like, screw you guys. I barrel stuff all the time. I just have to be in Arizona to do it.
I just
but,
need to be in surprise.
yeah, but his OPS was 864. So
What? We'll take
look
that.
at him say what's up. So maybe
Okay.
he found his swing. Him and
Well.
MJ were like swinging together.
Yeah.
Right.
Hanging out with the Jakes and swinging.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Swinging with the
And that's
Jakes.
sometimes what you need.
So that's
I have
ready.
noticed we don't have a good Jake.
We do not.
I mean,
we need a
A
Jake.
whole lineup and no Jakes.
I don't know how we're
and
going to
we-
win anything without a Jake. We need to get a Jake up here soon.
Yeah.
We'll figure that
Jake-
out.
That.
Jake Berger would look good in right field. for
Jake
us.
Berger would look good. I'll take that. So the next guy I want to talk about is so the Royals basically have 4 guys they're using off the bench. This is a today development. We did expect Nick Lofton, who was a number 1 draft or first round draft pick, to be the utility guy, but as of today, they made a decision. They sent Nick back to the minors. They put Kevin Biggio, a guy who we signed in the off season, who had a little bit of fame as a Blue Jay and was one of those sons that all came up together.
Yep.
Kevin had a good rookie season, a promising rookie season, and then just kind of has slowly fallen off since then. He's 26 years old. He's not really been a starter quality guy since then. I think the Royals saw a guy who had shown some potential again, and they said, hey, let's take a flyer. Let's see how he does. But he gets on base for not hitting a lot. He does a pretty good job of getting on base. Hasn't had the pop since his rookie year. I'm not incredibly hopeful, but hey, prove me wrong, Kevin. Let's show something.
Yeah, and I don't know. I didn't really get to see where he was playing in spring training. Maybe he's taking reps at third base because,
He
Matt's
might have.
probably going to play most of second. He's certainly not playing shortstop. He's not
Nope.
playing first. The outfield, he's never played it. God, did he play a little bit with Toronto? I'm not sure.
I
He might have
thought
shown
it
on
was
the
all
outfield for a
second
little bit.
base, but
I did too,
I
but-
doubt that they had to get his bat in the outfield of
That's
Toronto.
my
so
whole point. So I don't think
so-
they were forcing him in the lineup. And so
Yeah.
he just kind of got benched, and that was the end of him.
yeah,
So I don't know where the Biggio is going to. Shit, I don't even know. He's got to play somewhere. He must just be the utility resting
we had the
guys
Shrewdness
on
decided
Sundays.
that the reason that you went with Biggio over Lofton is Lofton had options. So Lofton is a guy you still have some runway with. Biggio is a guy who, if you're going to have him on the team, you had to have him on the team. And so I think they're going to give him a shot. He's got a bad April. That might be all we see of Mr. Biggio.
yeah, exactly.
And
I started to say June 1, maybe the last day we see him. If he
Right.
doesn't have a strong first couple months,
he's definitely
Yeah.
going to have to earn it for sure.
Yes.
But he is the primary utility infielder. The primary utility outfielder is one Dairon Blanco, who is
Yep,
a fun dude because he's
I love
fast.
that dude.
he's fun.
He is fast. He had a home run here yesterday at Texas Stadium, which does not happen a lot for Dairon.
Little League
He-
homer?
Yeah.
That didn't go over the wall, did it?
He hit
Oh,
it
yeah, it
over
did.
the wall.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Opposite field too, like
Yeah.
center field, I think.
Dude's got oppo power he's developing at age 31.
Crazy.
The thing I was
So-
shocked about is how old Dairon is. So I didn't realize he was already 31. I mean, the dude had 31 stolen bases last year on 132 plate appearances.
Yeah.
So-
well, he comes up when it's not his plate appearance often. If
That's
Salvi gets
true.
on in the 9th, Darren Blanco is suddenly on at first.
That's exactly
He had
right.
at one point he had like more steals than at bats,
Then plate
Yes.
appearances.
Yeah,
or maybe more steals than even plate appearances. Yeah,
that's
I mean it
probably
was
right.
the first couple months he would just steal at will.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like our guy in 2015 that I'm just totally drawing a blank all of a sudden, but he also would just come
Yeah,
in.
Gerard Dyson.
Dyson.
Rod Dyson.
Yeah, Hot Rod Dyson. And That dude was fun. So he's kind of like that. So the Royals
He
always
is.
tend to have a pinch runner to get you in the late innings and defensive replacement.
Unfortunately, he's not as good defensively as
He's
Dyson
better than
was.
Bear on skates, though.
He's better than Bear on skates, and he's better than Hunter Renfroe in terms of his range. So, like,
Yeah.
he is. You will see him come in the 8th and 9th a lot and play one of
Yeah.
those corner outfielder
Why
spots.
he gets more games and at bats. All those
Totally.
things.
Yeah.
Totally. The last one I wanted to bring up is, although they made some signings in the offseason, a lot didn't pan out. And so this week they signed Mark Canha, who's going to be the 4th guy on the bench. He's a 36-year-old dude, outfield first baseman. He spent most of his career in Oakland. So, yeah, you haven't heard of him because he was in Oakland. And at his peak, he was a 20 home run a year guy. He's just not that exciting.
No.
He's a veteran presence, and I guess, again, he may not be around a long time if he doesn't produce, but
Nope.
we'll see.
Let's hit up the pitchers.
So now we get to the fun part. So, as we talked about, this is the number 2 ranked starting pitching staff in the majors last year, which is crazy. Because when you think about it, going into the year, you were like, they got Cole Ragans. And what? Like,
And we've
they
heard
didn't
of
have
Brady
much
Singer.
of anything. Brady Singer, sort of. We'll maybe give you a little bit of Brady Singer. They signed a guy named Seth Lugo. They signed a guy named Michael Waka. And all of a sudden, magic happened. And the amazing part about this staff is I did some research. Every single starting pitcher in this staff was a first-round draft pick. Except for Seth Lugo, who was a 34th round draft pick. So Seth Lugo is the one outlier. These are all guys that had promise at some point in their career, and now they've seemed to put it all together. And it starts with the ace that the Royals got in one of the best deals they've made in my memory, where they traded for Cole Ragans. They traded Aroldis Chapman.
Thank you, Aroldis, for your half a season.
Yes. They got Cole Ragans and Chris Stratton in that trade. The Rangers got a
World Series trophy.
World Series out of it, so it worked
That's
out
a good
for them.
trade.
And we got an ace for the next 5 years because he's club controlled through 28. He was an all-star last year, and he led the entire league in strikeouts per 9 with 10.8 last year. So that is... And this dude has swing and miss stuff. He was a 4.9 WAR guy, 3.14 ERA, 1.14 WHIP, and a lefty to boot. And he's only 27. You can't, if you're gonna pick a guy to build a staff around, he's the guy. And he only managed to squeak out 186 innings last year, so he was quite durable as well.
And I think
what do you guys think about old Cole?
We signed him to a 3-year extension too. Last month, maybe 3 years, and I think it's only like 15, 16 million bucks. It wasn't much.
It was a deal.
It was a super scoop, and I think Lou had mentioned. I didn't realize. I knew he had one, but I think he's had 2 Tommy Johns. And he's already 27, so it's like, So it's good for him. He's got generational wealth now. He can do whatever he wants.
Yep.
It's good for the Royals. We got a good cheap deal on a legitimate. I mean, what was he? Top 3 Cy Young or something like that last year?
He was
fourth in the voting last year.
Yeah, so it's kind of incredible. So the Royals have locked down a number 1 legitimate ace for the next couple of years. That's fantastic. Incredible deal. Rangers got a World Series. We got an ace. And frankly, they'd given Cole Ragans lots of opportunities.
Oh,
it wasn't that
tons.
They kept with him for like 8 years and just never worked out.
It's one of those deals where when he came over, the Royals pitching coaches got a hold of him and they tweaked a few things and just a few little tweaks, and all of a sudden it worked. It clicked for him. And the other thing that I was reading they think it did is took a lot of the stress off of his delivery too, which is one of the concerns that was causing some of those injuries. So he's throwing, quote, easier, which is nice. And he's just a freaking big lefty who is hard to hit.
He is.
So you gotta love Cole Ragans.
I would like to see his whip numbers broken down by inning. It seems like he always has a kind of a shaky first inning.
Totally.
3 batters maybe reach base the first inning, and then after that it's lights out.
He's got to settle down, it seems like, always.
Yeah. He's got to get into a groove. There's other pitchers. I know Tom Glavine was similar.
Yes.
Glavine
did
the
like, same thing.
First inning.
Inning number one, his ERA is like 6, and then after that it's like 1 or something.
Yeah.
So,
needed to get him early.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
You just got to get him into a groove, and then he can cruise through 6 innings every start.
He's just calibrating that left arm, and then he finally gets it, and it's good to go. Right. So hopefully as he gets older, he's actually the youngest starter on the staff at 27, which is kind of crazy.
That's awesome.
Now we get into the part of the staff that was magic last year, and I'll be honest, that I'm scared about. Because we had lightning in a bottle. You had Seth Lugo, Seth Lugo was a pretty good starter.
Lugo.
But Lugo last year, he was pretty good his whole career. And then last year, it was like, holy crap. Something took over Seth Lugo. He threw 206 innings of 3.00 ERA, 1.08 whip, ball.
Incredible.
That, at age 34, does not generally kick in and happen for a guy. So my big concern is regression here. He only strikes out 7.9 per 9. So I mean, it's not bad, but he's not a strikeout pitcher. And he threw 206 innings.
Yep.
Which was his career high, I believe.
Right? It was, and he's 35, right?
Yeah.
So that is super scary to me. I'm really worried about how he comes out of the gate this year. So we'll be really intently watching those first few starts, see if fatigue is real. So it's all about sustaining for him.
Let me go back to a comment. So he's 8 years older than Ragans. I get that. But with the 10.8 Ks per 9 from Ragans and only 7.9 from Lugo, 20 innings difference last year.
Yep.
How many pitches did Seth Lugo actually throw versus Ragans?
A good point. That's a good point, because you're right. He's a ball and play guy.
Yep.
Right?
And a 1.08 means he was not throwing a lot of pitches per inning.
Nope.
So it's still concerning. It's his highest innings he's ever thrown, and he's 35. So I'm with you on the concern, but it's not like he's a flamethrower that's striking out 10 batters per game.
But here's the thing: Seth Lugo is, I think what he does is smarter than a lot of these young guys coming up just throwing strikes, trying to strike everybody out. He's pitching to contact into those base runners, and then he strikes you out.
Yeah.
And so he's not trying to strike everybody out.
Yeah.
Because he and Cole Ragans both have, I think they're both in the top 6 for the best changeup for swing and miss, and
that's right.
Just chase.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably
He's got a great
high.
changeup.
And so the thing is, he strikes people out when he needs to strike you out. I think he's got it in the tank. He can kind of strike you out whenever he wants, really, and he's super smart. I think even Pasquantino was talking about, he was getting out of a hitting slump at the beginning by talking to Seth Lugo about how he would get attacked. And so by learning what Seth Lugo, how he would pitch him, he's very smart, man.
Oh,
so Seth Lugo knows how to pitch. And so, yeah, maybe that is what you pick up when you're finally 34. And everybody in every single sport says it. If you have the brain of the mid-30s and the body of your early 20s, you'd be unstoppable. But eventually stuff breaks down. So I'm hopeful that he's just figured it out and have a couple good years left, especially, I mean, we need him this year again, bad.
If
we need
he
him
could
to be really good again. It doesn't need to be a 3 and a 108, top 4 Cy Young or 6, whatever the heck he was.
He was second and Ragans was 4th.
That's right.
So he's right behind Tarek Skubal.
Right.
That's
right.
crazy.
4.7 WAR out of your two. So your two starters, your two front end starters had almost 10 in WAR right there, which is really great. You're right. If he could do a high 3s, that would be
a 1.18 or something.
Right. That would be great. Then we go to another guy that had a renaissance year at age 32 last year. He's 33, and Michael Wacha. So if you're a Cardinals fan, Padres fan, you remember Michael Wacha. He's another guy that we have signed in club control through 28. So we've got the pieces for a rotation for a while if it works out. This is a guy who was an NLCS MVP at one point in his career. He threw 166 innings last year. The thing about Wacha is, if you look at his career, he's pretty much who he is. He's steady Eddie. He's had a couple rough seasons, but he's a 3.35 ERA, 119 WHIP guy, which normally that would be like the ace of the Royals in most seasons, but that put him at like third this last year. It was a great year, and he kind of got overshadowed. A 3.3 WAR guy as a starter is phenomenal. So
it is.
What do you guys think on Waka and coming into this year?
You're right. He did get overshadowed a lot last year with the power of Ragans and Lugo ahead of him. But I'll take that third starter type numbers
right?
any year.
Right.
And most teams would. Like that's solid number 3.
Yeah, the only one that wouldn't is the Dodgers.
Yeah, he kind of battled back. So Michael Wacha was really, really good with the Cardinals at first, and kind of tailored off a little bit.
Yeah.
Then he went to Padres and kind of renaissance, got back, and so that's why the Royals got him after that. He showed he could do it again, and thankfully he kept doing it again, because I was kind of paranoid. Like, he just showed it a little bit. I'm like, oh no, we're going to get someone on the hot streak, and then we're going to get the poop of it. But he did really well. I like Michael Wacha. He's a great 3. Yeah. So when you're looking across just divisions and teams, most teams will take him as their number 3
for sure.
I'm looking at your notes, Chiz, and he's another guy that pitches to contact, right? He's not a huge strikeout guy.
Yeah.
And that's very helpful for a guy like Wacha playing for the Royals, because they do have a solid defense. They do have the Isbells and Witts and Massey's, serviceable.
Up the middle, the Royals are very strong.
And with Fermin and Salvi behind the plate too.
That's right. So. The challenge is, and it's important because these starters need to throw a lot of innings, because, as we'll talk about in a minute, the bullpen was very suspect last year. So we getting those quality innings out of the starters. So that the 4 spot is where you had Brady Singer last year, and Brady Singer was a battler. Brady Singer was I would guess a league average guy is what I would guess if you looked at his WAR. He's probably a 0 WAR guy. They took a flyer on Michael Lorenzen at the end of last year. This guy's a former All-Star. I could not believe when I looked at his seasons. He's wildly inconsistent. So he has really good year, really bad year, really good year, really bad. Like, he's all over the board. And what that says to me is he's got a lot of talent, but I don't know if it's the discipline, the mental game, whatever it is, but, he's a guy who has had promise for a long time. He's 33 years old. As a 4 guy, I'll take him. 3.31 ERA, 123 WHIP over his multiple teams last year. Yeah. You don't really know what you're going to get. Any thoughts on Lorenzen?
So let me take one quick back step. So Brady Singer was actually a 3.1 WAR last year.
Not up.
For the Royals.
I never would have thought he was that high.
Yeah, and in 2022, he was 4.5. So he's had a couple good years.
I undersold Brady. I'm sorry, Brady.
So he had a 3.71 ERA last year. He pitched 180 innings. So Brady was a very, very, very good pitcher for the Royals last year, and a big reason that they had the year they did.
Yeah.
I don't know if Michael Lorenzen even has that kind of – I don't know. I don't feel as confident. But then again, it's because what you just said, he's never been consistent.
No.
It's like a trampoline. I don't know which part I'm getting. Am I going up or am I going down, man? It's very sketchy. I don't know, Prue, what do you think? Are you excited about Lorenzen or just like hopeful? Where are we at?
I know Lou likes him.
Yeah. He reminds me of like Wild Thing in Major League.
Yes.
Like he's just kind of out there. He's got the hair going and all that kind of stuff, and it's like you kind of hold your breath a little bit, partially because you want to see what happens, and partially because you're worried.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
We'll see. He's one to watch.
He'll be fine. Yeah, he's serviceable.
He's
as
not
a fourth starter. Yeah.
I mean, those first three guys are draftable in your fantasy. The Lorenzen's a guy that's high variability, and I would not draft him out of the gate, but he could end up being somebody who could do something for you. Okay, so then we go to the 5th starter, and the 5th starter is where it gets definite wild card-ish. You've got Chris Bubich. He's 27. He is a guy who has had that promise label for a long time. He has a bad
Jackson Coar, but
no,
yes.
he's no Jackson Coar, but he's got a bad history as a starter. He's an over 5 ERA guy when he starts, but last year he got some starts. He started out of the bullpen, did really well, got a few starts. He got a 2.67 ERA. He has 11.6 Ks per nine, so he's ton of swing and miss stuff. Maybe he's figured it out. I don't know. We're going to see. A guy who was a one whipped guy last year with 30 innings pitched. I like that, but he's just mental when he starts. If it comes through, it comes through. If not, they got two guys that are very viable starters. Alec Marsh, who we remember from last year, he got a lot of starts. He's not a super high talent guy, but he's a warrior. He's going to keep you in every game.
Doesn't have a lot of talent. Doesn't have a lot of pitches.
No, but he fights, man.
Walks a lot of guys.
And then the guy that's most interesting to me, 30-year-old Kyle Wright. So Kyle Wright, if you guys remember, was a Braves pitcher who had a really good year a few years ago.
And he had Tommy John or something, right? Or shoulder or something?
Had shoulder issues, had surgery, missed all of last year. Is pitching now. They anticipate he's going to be ready early in the season. So I'm sure he'll start in the minors. We'll see how he does. But he's very viable as a 5 starter if Chris doesn't work out, or a guy they could bring in as a spot starter. So thoughts on any of those last 3 guys?
I want to go because they only matter when they matter. Chris Bubich, spring training, 5 games started, 16 innings, 19 hits.
Ooh.
12 runs, all earned, 2 dingers. The only good stat.
Did he face all righties?
I hope so. Is that he got 17 strikeouts in his 17 innings, basically. That's good.
Still has that strikeout.
It's that 6.48 ERA, the 1.44 whip, 10.3 hits per nine. Yeah.
That ain't gonna cut it. Maybe he was working on some stuff.
Maybe working on some stuff.
He's working on his get hit pitch.
He's working on his straight ball.
He was trying the knuckleball out and it didn't work, so
yeah. So I don't know. I'm gonna have limited optimism. He wasn't really battling anyone for that
that's
spot.
Fair.
And so that's where I'm at, Prue. How about you, bud?
Well, I was gonna say that the numbers last year look great on paper, but then it's 30 innings pitched, right? It's a really small sample size.
Then you realize it's lipstick and there's a pig there, and look
can
pretty.
Can he sustain that? And clearly in spring training, he did not.
Potential.
Yeah.
He's 27.
This is the year.
This is his year. So
him and MJ Melendez can have a potential party together.
That's exactly right. So that's the starting pitching. Listen, it's probably not going to be the number 2 ranked staff, but if it's in the top 10, this team's got a really good shot at making a playoff run, I think. The challenge last year was the bullpen, 20th ranked in major leagues last year. 20th is not good. And if you look at, you had a lot of guys that started out pretty well. I won't spend a ton of time on any of them, and then they faded at the end of the year. They didn't have a lot of ammunition at the end of the year. They did make one big acquisition in Carlos Estevez. Carlos Estevez is a 32-year-old closer. He had a 2.45 ERA and a .9 whip. Those are good numbers in 55 innings. He's a former All-Star. His challenge is he strikes out a lot of people, but he also walks a lot of people. That walk-to-K ratio is not ideal. They've got him listed as a co-closer with Lucas Ursig. And Lucas was a guy who came in last year and was
Lucas last
really
year.
Fun last year. He has a mentality.
We got him from Oakland, but he wasn't Mason Miller, who we thought
That's
we
right.
could get. We wanted Mason Miller,
awesome,
but everybody wanted Mason Miller.
Yes.
And it's not like we could we didn't have any other people to give. Actually, that might have been where we traded our third base prospect to. It was probably to the A's.
I think that's right. I think it was.
Yeah, but regardless, he was incredible when he got here because we also got Hunter Harvey last year, if you remember that. And I know we'll talk about him next, but he came over and was promptly hurt and didn't pitch like at all. I think he pitched a few games.
Yes.
The games he pitched were not good. I do remember that. And then
and then when he did throw, it was trash. So he was kind of the better pedigree of the two, of the track record.
That's
but
right.
Lucas Ursig is the one that did awesome, and frankly, he's the one we quickly went to because we started off with MacArthur, which, again, we'll probably also talk about here in a minute.
Yeah.
But Ursig was the most dependable one. I think it's very safe to say that. And the entire bullpen, you're like, whew, Lucas coming. I feel pretty good that we're going to get out of this inning and probably strand those guys on base.
The irony of it is Lucas was not a pitcher. Well, he pitched some in college, but he was not drafted as a pitcher. He was a position player, which is why he didn't get to the majors until he was 28 years old, because he wasn't going to make it as a position player.
So, funny story, he was a third base prospect for Milwaukee coming up, and I got to see him at a AA game down in, God, I think their home base was Mobile, Alabama is where Milwaukee is playing, at least the game I went to. And he was on my list of prospects to get, so I got his autograph way back in the day.
Did you really?
2018 or whatever the heck.
Right.
So Lucas Ursig, third base prospect.
Nice.
And then all of a sudden he shows up. I was like, why do I know that name? I don't think I know any pitchers.
And
then I read up on him. I was like, oh, he switched to pitching. So it's kind of amazing. You come up and just like, I guess I can't hit well. At least I'm an elite reliever.
Right.
It's like, what? How did that work out?
It's a super cool story because, this is very rare that you have a guy that's that good to be able to do that kind of. This is kind of a Rick Ankiel kind of. I mean, he's not quite Rick Ankiel, but it is the same kind of trajectory where you have a guy that's like, hey, you know what? I'm a really good athlete. I pitched in college, and let me see what I can do. And he has the mentality of a closer, which is nice. So he comes in and he there's certain guys that just have that, like, give me the effing ball, right?
Yeah.
And he has that,
He's got the dog.
I want this ball and I'm going to get these guys out, which makes you feel good when that guy's in. Now, how he and Estevez are going to split that, I'm not sure. They got him listed as co-closers. You've also got
they're both
righties.
Both righties. You also got Hunter Harvey. They've got listed as a setup guy. He was a first-round draft pick. He's tons of swing and miss stuff. Again, walks too many. He's got a 132 whip. So they got some wild cards out here in the bullpen. They got arms. They got live arms. Those three guys are live arms. The question is, are they going to be able to work it out? What roles they fall into? Hey, best case scenario, you get a 7th, 8th, and 9th combo, right? That would be pretty great. They're all righties, but 7, 8, 9, I can see it.
Yeah, it could work.
The rest of the guys will run through pretty quick. John, high leverage Shriver.
High leverage Shriver.
High leverage Shriver was indeed high leverage first part of last year.
Except for the Texas Rangers game you attended.
Oh, my God. Dude, I did not have a good personal experience with John Shriver. They just shellacked him whenever he came in. I was just brutally sitting in the outfield watching him get destroyed. It was not good. So he faded. He's 31. We'll see. Whip numbers, none of these guys, the rest of the guys in the bullpen, none of their whips great, except for the last couple we'll talk about. They're all the 1.3 to 1.5 range.
Yeah.
Is the 1.45 right for Zerpa? Seems like he was better than that.
Zerpa, well, the weird thing about Zerpa
is
be
a typo.
I don't know.
Zerpa's a dude who I was really excited about because in the minors I was tracking Zerpa. And he throws really hard, and he's a lefty. So I was excited because I'm like, this dude's going to be a great starter. He just couldn't put it together as a starter. So anytime they started him, he was just inconsistent. He always had an inning that was just crap and blew up, and it was not good. So they're like, okay, we'll try him to pen. Move him to pen. He's only 25. He's still got nasty stuff. He did well. He did well as a lefty out of the pen. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's use him there, right? Chris Stratton, the guy we picked up in the guy that came along with Cole Ragans, was
we can chip him back. Let's put a return to sender on that box.
It's not good, and he's in the pin somehow, but I gotta think not for long. We do have some arms that could take a spot, and then Sam Long, who was a really surprising guy. He was not a guy that was talked about a lot. He was not like, oh, Sam Long's coming up. Just like, let's eat some innings with Sam. Because he's 29, and it was like, well, he was another one of those guys like, well, he's done good in the minors. I guess we better give him a shot. No one's excited. He came in 316, 119 whip. It's not phenomenal, but a 9.3 K rate. Like, I'll take that all day. So, was it lightning in a bottle, or will the guy sustain it this year? We'll see. and then our old buddy Daniel Lynch the fourth. Daniel Lynch the fourth, who just
What if the first three were better?
Never, I know, right? He could never excel as a starter, and he looked great last year as a reliever. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he had a sub 1 whip, 8.1 K to 9, lefty guy. Hey, if that's what he is, we'll take it. And he, I think at the beginning of last year we were all saying, hey, if Daniel Lynch doesn't work out, we should try him in the bullpen.
Absolutely.
And moved to the bullpen, and he did well. So let's see if that holds out. The last guy that we didn't talk much about, but he was the closer, was a General MacArthur. He's a likable guy. You want to root for him.
Not very good, though.
He had some flashes of brilliance the first 3 months of the season, and then it was
he was single-handedly carried the bullpen. Yeah, he single-handedly carried it, I feel like, at the beginning.
He did at the beginning, and then it just did.
And then suddenly I didn't want to see the General back in there.
Nope.
Yeah.
So he got injured. He's in rehab. We'll probably see him mid-season at some point in some role. He might be better as a setup guy. That might be, where they place. We're a long relief guy. Maybe you should put him in there for that. So we'll see. Talked about the guys that left. I wanted to mention real briefly. He has any other comments on the relievers? You good?
No, I'm good. We have a good bullpen. I like it. They generally are. We're generally not terrified when they come in.
No. It'll be decent.
I need another lefty in there. For me, Zerpa's really questionable. If Lynch doesn't hit on all cylinders the first couple months.
It's probably going to be Bubic.
It's probably Bubic.
Yes.
If Kyle Wright. So here's the thing. We touched on it that he was good, but I don't think you understand how good he was.
He was really
Kyle
good.
Wright in 2022 was 21-5 with a 3.19 ERA, 180 innings, 174 Ks. He had a 3.28 strikeout to walk ratio. He was 10th in Cy Young that year.
Yeah.
So they want that guy. And if he can be in the rotation and be healthy, I'm sorry, Michael Lorenzo or Chris Bubic. You're out. It's bye-bye Bubic, and we need a lefty in the pen anyway.
Yeah.
That's right.
And frankly, I think Alec Marsh will probably outcompete Bubic. I don't think it's going to take long for Bubic to be in the bullpen, and he's good there. So just keep him there, and we'll have a third lefty in the pen, which we also like.
I can see that.
Anyway, I digress a little bit.
So before we get the prospects, you guys might remember from the end of last season, as the Royals were making a run, they did go out and get additions, quote, that we thought were additions at the time. Paul DeYoung, woo!
Yes, he did all right.
He did okay. He went to Washington. Garrett Hampson is left Arizona recently. He signed with Arizona, and he left it because they told him he was going to the minors. So there's some rumors that he could reunite with the Royals as a utility interference. So Kevin Biggio will see. Adam Frazier, remember him? He went to Pittsburgh. Yuli Gurriel, 41 years old, had a handful of at-bats for the Royals last year, and he actually got signed by the Padres. So
that can't be true.
It's a minor league deal, I think.
Minor league deal, I think.
I saw that too.
But he's like 42 now, I think.
At least.
Tommy Pham.
I always love that guy.
I always love that guy.
I always love Tommy Pham. He is now with Pittsburgh, I think.
You
saw him the other night.
I just watched it the other day. I sent a picture of him. He's still in left field. And he was getting in an argument with a fan and talking about, this is my profession. This is my livelihood. And I couldn't hear the other guy yelling, but everybody was booing at the fan. Stop yelling at Tommy Pham.
Tommy Pham, who no one likes, is the cancer of the clubhouse, but he had a cup of coffee with us. It did pretty well for us last year, which is crazy.
He did. But I'm not sad he's gone.
No, Will Smith, who I wanted so badly to do well because he had a great career, but he just totally flamed out with the Royals and ended up being like the coach on the bench because we couldn't even use him anymore. He retired, and then how we love Carlos Hernandez. Speaking of potential, every year of my life, it feels like Carlos Hernandez he's got great stuff. We can't wait to see. He might be a starter. Maybe he's going to be a closer.
Or maybe he won't do anything.
And
maybe he'll be average again.
Finally, on waivers, someone else said, okay, we'll try it. We'll try Carlos Hernandez. So those are who left. We talked about the additions. Now, let's briefly talk about the prospects. There aren't a ton in the Royal system, but
we only need to talk about two in reality.
Right.
Let's talk about the two most exciting ones.
Okay.
So let's start with the second exciting one.
All right.
We'll go to the most exciting one. So the one that we were talking about last year, and at this time we were kind of like, Blake Mitchell. What a waste. Oh, my God. He totally sucks. No, man. He had a good year last year.
He did.
Balake Mitchell is on his way to replacing and Freddie Fermin is looking in his rear view.
Totally.
And he's like, well, it was fun because Balake Mitchell is going to be up potentially if he can play his way onto the team this summer.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not going to be hard to get a barrel rate above 3% and knock Freddie Fermin off the catcher block.
Right.
Because by all accounts, he's pretty good defensively too. So Blake Mitchell's not just he just didn't have a very good first professional year, but then he rallied, man. He was good last year. So Blake Mitchell, catcher, prospect. So he's number 2 from the Royals organization, number 48 overall. And he was the number 8 pick overall in 2023. So that's the caliber of this dude. And he's knocking, man. He's coming. He's got his golf cart. He's ready to roll up onto the Kauffman Stadium and say, Freddie, it's been real, but I'm going to take over now. And me and Salvi got this.
The other interesting thing is he's a lefty, and he's only 20. So, like, even if he doesn't come up this year and they let him season another year because they want to save his service time or whatever, that would...
he probably will stay down. I mean, he's a young kid. I was just kind of be more optimistic. Man, he only high A last year, maybe. I don't even think he got to double A.
We were down on him because he's coming straight out of high school, and that usually doesn't...
That's usually not a good sign for the catchers unless your name is...
But here's what you can get excited about, though. So for
Joe
our
Mauer.
catcher... that was ridiculous. Okay, so last year he was on 2 teams, so I think he did high A and high A. So 232, not the best, but 368 on base, a 424 slug, 792 OPS, and he had 18 homers, 51 RBIs, but 80 walks. And he stole 26 bases. He stole 26 bases.
Crazy.
He's like Jason Kendall.
Out of a catcher. Yeah.
And by all accounts, he's pretty good defensively. So I think what we're looking at is a potential, and like his best tool is his arm. So he's going to throw people out left and right behind the plate.
Yeah.
And his power is a 60 on the 2080 scale. So that's a lot of pop.
Yeah, that is.
So I think we're going to be pretty darn pleased when he gets up, and it's probably going to be next year.
They may see the other guy that they've got on the radar is Carter Jensen. He's a high, I think he's 4th ranked in the organization, and he's a catcher. He's a little bit older. He's almost 22, and he's played good ball, and he's another lefty. So he could get a cup of coffee this year. I could see that.
He could, and last year, they both did pretty well. I think the upside, obviously, is a little more with Mitchell, but Carter Jensen, there's nothing wrong with him. And at Double-A, he had better stats, frankly, than Blake Mitchell.
Right.
So Carter Jensen last year, 259, 359 on base. He had 18 homers, 67 RBIs. He also walked 72 times to 128 Ks. He also stole 17 bases. So we have like these freaky fast catchers that are getting on base and seeing pitches. And it's harder to see the pitches when you get to the majors because they throw better, right? So, but as far as like upside, we've got 2 different dudes competing to be that new franchise catcher. And that is a great problem to have. Great problem to have. All right, so that's our catching prospects. Oh my gosh. You want to start it off on Jack Caglianone, 6th overall pick last year out of Florida. Oh my gosh.
This guy has just tons of talent. He's a kind of electric prospect that only comes around like once every 10 years. And we've had a couple of them now. So Bobby Witt and then him. The interesting part about Jack, well, there's a lot interesting about him. One, he hits the piss out of the ball. So his hard hit rate is crazy. And not only is it rate high, but also the absolute values of how hard he's hitting the ball is insanity.
Like he breaks laces.
Yeah. Like
121 mile an hour exit velo as a junior.
That's stupid.
It's redonkulous.
He had one that was 117 exit velo, and they said that was like the 3rd highest ever by a Royal.
Spring training. He hit a ball that hasn't landed yet.
Yes.
It's just crazy.
Oh, and by the way, he does a little pitching on the side. So
he's a lefty pitcher just in case,
The reason that he was really interested in the Royals is the Royals were interested in him being potentially a two-way player. And you guys know how rare that is. Not saying he's Shohei, because Shohei is a unicorn, but
Yeah.
you could potentially have. He's totally focused on hitting right now. He's not pitching at all, which I think is great. They're starting
Get him up
out
quicker.
do well on the hitting side, and then we can figure it out. But he could be one of those guys that is an absolute draw because people want to see a two-way player, and especially a guy that can hit the ball like him.
You want to hear another stupid stat? It's one that they talked about during the draft, and I just remembered it as I kind of look over it again. So his draft year, so last year, so he batted .419 with a .544 on base and a .875 slugging, not OPS, slugging, and he had more home runs, 35, than strikeouts, 26.
What?
More homers and strikeouts in 66
crazy.
games. So, yeah, he could be okay. He could
And
be all right.
He's like 6'5" or something.
6'5", the John
260
Olerud Award
or
winner
something.
last year.
Yeah.
This dude is a freak. And he's just mashing the ball.
And he was getting so much attention at spring training. I mean, he didn't get many at-bats, right? They were limiting him. But because there was so much electricity around the at-bats, people were like, oh my gosh, they should call him up, which would be silly to call him up right now. But
not yet,
but
soon.
If he continues this pace in the minors, Vinny's going to be going, what's that over my shoulder? Oh my God. I mean, I love Vinny. I love me some Vinny, but holy cow, when you're looking at a guy that does
40 home runs in the first base position.
That's crazy town. So definitely one we will be tracking on the Shrewdness podcast. You guys will have to make sure you listen to the weekly episodes because we will definitely be having a Jack Track. And the Jack Track will making sure we give you what his stats are looking like and how he's tracking in the minors because he's a college guy. So he's going to be advanced. He's going to have a faster timeline. So it'll be fun to watch him.
It's going to be exciting seeing those guys come up. All right, so Chisholm, that brings us back to what we always do. The last thing we talk about. So Vegas has them at 82.5 over/under. Last year they delivered 86 wins, playoff bound. What say you on the 82.5?
This was a really tough one for me. This was a really tough one for me because
you got your bias. You got to take.
I got my bias. I also understand there was lightning in a bottle with the pitchers, and I'm like a little bit worried about that. However, I do think adding India is going to help. I think that's going to help the offensive side of the ball for sure. I do think they got better in the bullpen, and I think they have a couple better options for the back half of the rotation. So I don't think the 2 and 3 are necessarily going to do as well as they did last year. I'm not saying they're going to be bad, but I don't think they'll do as well. But I don't think they have to be because I think you're going to have a little more depth in that starting rotation and a little better bullpen. So as a result, and because of the decrease in talent on the Guardians and the Twins being the Twins and going to be hurt.
Royce Lewis is already hurt.
He's already hurt.
Yeah.
I am going to lean to the over, and that is taking out all the homer bias I can. I think over 82 is a good bet. You guys?
Prue, what do you say?
I can get behind that. I think if they do what they did last year and they kind of hang around and they're showing that they're in the hunt, they may go get another bat and replace somebody in the bottom half of the lineup there, and that would drastically help them. I think their pitching is solid enough; they'll stay in games that way, but they may struggle to score runs in the bottom half of the lineup. I hate those on bases. 5 guys under a 300 on base is not conducive to winning.
Is that not good?
Not going to win you a lot of games.
It's amazing they had the 10th ranked offense last year. That was basically Bobby Witt had the 10th ranked offense last year.
Yeah, but my issue is exactly what Prue just said. That bottom half of the lineup is not good. And I think our pitching is good enough to keep them in. I think even with regression, even with it, I think we have a pretty good starting staff, especially in that division. I can see 83 and 79. So I think the reason they're all so dang close, 81, 81.7, 82.5, is because that's probably exactly where they're going to be.
Totally.
I don't know if they can, because I still think, the Twins have just as much depth in their rotation as well.
Yeah.
And their lineup probably is deeper. So I think they're probably just a more talented team. And so deeper. I think 83 and 79 for the Royals. I think, a couple games flip, right? Yeah. And they're right there. And so it's going to be exactly like last year. Like, you need to finish with a good week so don't collapse. But
I think the Guardians are worse, and the White Sox are still bad.
And then Detroit's going to be pretty good. I think it's going to be 3 teams kind of vying around. It's going to be Detroit, Minnesota, Royals. Kind of how it comes down in September. Who's got the most gas in the tank? Who's finishing? Who's more upright?
I think it's going to be an awesome race all season. I think this division is going to be way more fun to watch than most of the divisions of baseball because it's going to be highly competitive. I don't think the Guardians have a good chance to win it, but I think they'll be in the mix. I think there's 4 teams in the mix.
Yeah, they need a third base bat.
Yes.
It's huge. And a corner outfielder.
Outfielder.
2 things would be really nice, but if we can get Michael Garcia to come off the bench,
right?
If we can get MJ Melendez to come off the bench,
turn into AAA MJ Melendez.
You're right. Maybe the swing's fixed, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to see it. And the thing is, he's been potential for too many years in a row, and we haven't seen it.
How long can you be potential before you're not potential?
Exactly.
Ask Bubba Starlin. That's the question.
So 83-79. I'm on the smidge over because I do think that Bobby Witt is unbelievable. Salvi's going to give us another one. I think Cole Ragans is a legit ace. Seth Lugo is a super good number 2. Even with the regression, I think he'll be good. So I'm on the over. I
agree.
So I think with that wraps us up for our Kansas City Royals.
Yes, thank you guys.
It's long, but
it's a long session,
we want to go in depth.
It is our team, and so it will definitely be the longest one. You can listen to it on 1.5 speed if you don't like to hear all the stuff.
And our Kansas City audience, hope you enjoy.
Soak it up.
That's right.
So let's go Royals and stay shrewd.